up, y'all?
Howdy.
Hello.
Hello.
Morning. I had to be off camera just now because I was eating the most perfect scrambled eggs I've ever made in my life, I think. They usually are too done or not quite done enough, and these ones really hit the sweet spot.
That's so satisfying.
Mm-hmm. Guess while we're waiting for Alex and Scott, I may as well do my morning Wordle routine here. I haven't gotten to it yet today. Are you all playing Wordle? Yeah? No? I lost my 100-time streak the other day, which wasn't that big of a deal. I don't care about the streak so much. More like the challenge of coming up with a new 5-letter word every morning. Like some people like to start with the same guess, but I try and think of something other than trail for some reason. It always pops into my brain, or brain.
I do a lot.
Oh yes.
Try and get all those vowels out of the way.
It is a good starter, yeah.
Yeah. But trail
have
is
some,
because I feel like T and R are also like common letters.
yeah, yes. And I think S and maybe N. But yeah, it's funny that they allow a French word. I also saw somebody tweet out that they allow the word Wilco, like the band, to be in guess, which is a funny one to have in the list, I think. Hey, Alex.
Hello.
I think Scott's joining us today, right, Alex, as far as you know? I don't think he's out yet.
I think he's here, isn't he?
I think so. It's still only, oh, there he is. Right on time.
Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
Looks like the gang's all here. Sorry to be the last one in the room. What do you say, folks? Are we ready to get started? How's everybody doing, actually? Let's do that first. I'm going to just go from left to right and then top to bottom in my Zoom situation. Andy, how are you doing?
Good. Before you joined, I told everyone that I cooked probably the most perfect scrambled eggs this morning. Like, I think I peaked. It will never get better than they were.
That's a gift and a curse.
Yes, exactly.
How are you doing, Sarani?
I'm doing really good. Took my dog for a walk and now I'm just kind of tired and here.
Excellent. Glad to hear it. How about you, Tim?
I'm doing well. I'm crashing on a friend's couch in Berkeley, California for the next week. So should be in.
You're like, I don't know, half an hour away from me.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
Berkeley's cool. Cool. So Shireen, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you. Just enjoying my weekend with my kids and my husband.
I'm glad to hear
Hoping
that.
Hoping for rain. It hasn't rained in West Texas in probably 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really bad. High winds, really bad allergies, no rain, bad.
My family's in Colorado, and there's a sort of a similar thing going on at the moment. The winds are super bad. There hasn't been rain in a while. That's why we had that bad fire in Boulder. I don't know, right around New Year's.
Yeah, I was gonna say Alexa alerts me every day that we're in a high fire, like it's a high fire day or red flag day for fire. Like, so it's
Oh,
every
thanks,
day.
Amazon.
Yeah, it's every day.
Rebecca, how about you? How are you doing?
I'm pretty well. Okay, I feel like I need to say something to the group and I don't know the best time to do it, so I'm just gonna do it now. And I say this with a heavy heart, but I started a new job last week, which is very exciting. And I knew, I like accepted TCL and then like a week later got offered this job. And I knew there was gonna be an overlap and I was like, I can do anything for 6 weeks, like fine. And last week was like not super like fine for me. I had a hard time balancing like work and personal life and like getting my work for this done. So I'm sad to say this, but I did reach out to Stacy and I think I'm gonna have to leave the group just because I don't feel I have like the energy to be like fully present. And I would not want to put like my pair partner in the situation where like I don't have like the time or energy to give. I don't really feel like that's fair to you all because I've enjoyed working with you so much and I would not want to put you in a position where it's like, oh, like I don't have time or like I'm not like mentally able to like focus. We got the work done this week, but you know, like we weren't able to like merge by Sunday. And I'm just nervous that like going forward, as I have like more responsibility at work, like this week was just like onboarding and stuff. And I felt so mentally fried. So I'm just hesitant about going forward. And I'm very sad about it because I really liked like working with all you guys and meeting all you guys, but I'm just like concerned that if I were to like try to like just push forward and like make it work, like not only would I like burn myself out, but I would not be bringing my best self to like my partner every week. So I'm very sad to say this because I really enjoyed like I've enjoyed it so much so far, but I just feel like I kind of need to like protect my energy and make that decision for going forward. So I'm sad to say that right now, but I need to get it off my chest. And I did reach out to Stacy. So that's how I'm doing. The job was good. I'm a junior software engineer, so like I'm fired up about it. But
Right on.
I really feel like I want to focus my energy on like making sure I'm doing a good job at that. And I would not want that to like make more work for any of you guys. And I know that this is going to be like a transitional week. And if like this week, like, you know, I go through this week to like get through the transition, and like maybe get somebody else into the cohort, I'm happy to do that. But I did want to tell you guys that because I reflected on it a lot this week and I was like, this is just not going to be sustainable for me, I don't think.
Well, listen, I think I speak for everybody when I say, you know, congratulations on your new job. And we're all very happy for you. And I'm sorry to see you're going to be leaving us so soon, but we're all really happy for you. And I'm hoping that you got some good stuff out of this group anyway in the meantime. And
100%.
And thank you for being upfront with us about your scheduling and honest with yourself. That kind of clarity is an important skill to have. It's the only way you can possibly get what you need out of group organizations is to be aware of what you need first. So again, thank you for letting us know about that. If you don't, I'm not sure, like I'd love for you to stick around today and at least go through issues with us.
100%.
And
Yeah.
not issues, the demos. And, you know, I'll sort of work with you and with Stacy and Andrew after we get done with this meeting. And I'll send out some Slacks and we'll figure out the best way to handle this for the rest of the group. But thank you so much for, you know, being honest with yourself and honest with us and sharing all that. That's a really important thing for everyone here. And again, congratulations on the new gig.
Thank you.
Okay, well, Alex, how are you doing?
Oh, I woke up 8 seconds ago, so.
So
doing
great
okay.
then, huh?
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's gonna be an interesting morning. In that case, Andy, do you want to bring us through demos?
Yes, let's kick it off with, I think we had 5 and 6 this week, didn't we? So does any group in particular wish to go first? Anybody eager to demo?
I've got
If
my,
not,
I was just gonna say, I have my server running, so I'm happy to,
all
we
right.
haven't merged with main yet, but I have our branch like running, so I'm happy to
Yeah.
do that now if you like.
All right, issue 6, take it away.
So we were avoiding duplicates. That was our task, to make sure that people weren't adding the same item twice. So I can show us the code first, and then we can see it in action. I wasn't there, but Alex did help Sarani a lot with getting the logic right for this check duplicates function. So thank you, Alex, for that. And this is what it looks like. There's this little normalize input function that will make both the pre-existing list item and the user's input all uppercase, so we can just compare them on like the same case that way. And then we'll remove any punctuation, that's this guy, and replace any extra white space with just one space. So if someone did like a tab or a bunch of spaces for some reason, it will replace that. And we use that in our check for duplicates function, which takes a snapshot of the user's list using the token, and pushes each of those items into an empty array we created here. And then this is the logic that Alex really helped us with. This dot sum array method is not one that I've used a lot, and it worked out perfectly. So that was great. It returns a Boolean. If the normalized input and the normalized existing list item are equal, it will return true. So we know there's a duplicate, and if not, it'll return false. And then we invoked that in our handle click function in the try block. So the first thing we do is check for duplicates. I do still have this console login here, but that just, lets us know whether it is or isn't. And then in this if else block, if it is a duplicate, we'll display a little error and we'll clear the input. And if it's not a duplicate, we just move forward with the logic that was here before in the handle click to add that item to the database. So let me get our list up, and fish has been my test item all week. So we can add fish, we can see it's there. And if we say fish, it will say like, chill, you already have fish. And if we say like fish, same. So yeah, it appears to be working. And then if I do something new, okay. That's a good note. I hadn't, I had been trying duplicates over and over again, and I hadn't in that same flow added a different item. So I need to clear this error, but you can see that it does budge. Why did it add that one? Well, ain't that the way it goes?
I think that was part of the thing to add whatever was you had originally entered, or was it to add the normalized version?
No, so the criteria did say to add like what the user had input, but this fish one with the period is surprising me because I thought that would have been normalized with our function. So very close, but I guess no cigar. But that's us.
Nice. I wasn't familiar with the .sum function either. Is that a way of kind of like looping in a concise way?
So it works the same kind of as map or for each, but sum just checks against two values, and if those two values are the same, it just returns true, and if they're not, it returns false, and it just goes through a whole list. And so in our case, it just literally returns a single Well, it always returns a single true or false, but it's just, it looks through a list, checks your criteria, and just goes yes or no. Like, are any of these true or any of these false? So.
Cool. That sounds super useful. All right.
Yes. So yeah, that's us. Clearly we have like a little work left to do because it added that fish with the period there. But it's very close.
Yeah.
And
definitely.
I was pleased with the way like the regex worked out and stuff. So we have a little change to do, but I think we're very close. And then I kind of just copied what like Tim had done in the like on the welcome page for like the error. So I just have error as state. And if there is an error, it will show up there in red.
Cool. Yeah. And we can maybe note that if people have time that wasn't part of the acceptance criteria, but just in the back of your mind, if you want to practice with tests, maybe that with the period or with other punctuation might be a good test to add at some point, but certainly not something you all necessarily have to do before you merge in. Okay, does that cover it for issue 6? Anything else to add? Okay, in that case, who from issue 5 is demoing?
Shireen, do you want to do it or you want me to do it? I'll go if you want me to.
I was gonna let you do it today.
Cool. Yeah, no, it's all good.
If that's okay.
Oh, totally. Cool. Yeah. Sharing screen. All right. So yeah, issue 5. We our issue was to create a form on the welcome component that allowed users to enter like pre-existing tokens. And yeah, and so we very kind of similar to issue 6 where we just had a check to see whether that token exists or not. And so, yeah, so this handle submit function is working with the form that we created. And when the form is submitted, it'll basically run this single query against the user input. And we use this limit query just so that kind of, if it's a big list that has, 10 plus things on it, it's only going to get the first document. So we're just seeing whether there's a document at all. And query snapshot has this empty method, or it's not really method, it's more of like a parameter built into the object. And so you can just check whether that's true or not. And yeah, so we set the error if it's empty. Otherwise, we set the token to the user input, and then our previous existing use effect gets run. So it saves it to local storage. And then, yeah, and then if that happens, then it'll just navigate to the list as it did before. And yeah, so this is what our form looks like. We just have a label, input, and then, yes, we set up the error, did like an error element. And we tried using the area error message field for that to kind of like connect the error to the input. I hadn't used that before, but it just kind of seemed like maybe a best practice kind of accessibility thing to do. And that's pretty much it. Let me run it real quick. Oh boy, the old oh my zish update. Cool. And I don't know if I actually know any tokens off the top of my head. I guess I'll make one first. Okay, let me just grab that. And then clear my cookies real quick, or local storage. Oh boy, it's a little early in the morning for me here too. Right. See, I got to add an item for the stork. Red. list exists. And now, no, this is gonna work, right? Cool. So that
Nice.
worked. And then I guess I'll show the negative version real quick. Cool. So that's pretty much it. And then we tried to do a bunch of tests and they all kind of floundered, but it was a good learning experience.
Nice. Was
That's
there
super
anything?
cool.
It looks good. Anything in particular from working on this ticket, you or Shireen, that you will take away, that you learned? Anything?
I'm not sure necessarily. I mean, like we got the AC like all completed, I feel like really fast. Like it was like took us like 35 minutes maybe.
That's good.
But then we spent like many hours trying to get tests working and didn't.
Okay.
But I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And we got through it fast because of Tim. Not gonna lie, like if it had been me, it probably would have taken me a lot longer. Tim is like really good. He's a very good coder and developer. I learned a lot from him. I learned like all this stuff from him, and so he was a great partner to have. And yeah, the testing is definitely new to me. Like we didn't spend a whole lot on it in my boot camp, like maybe like a week. We did like one module on testing. So I was like watching tutorials on how to implement React testing, and those were not very fun to watch. I was having a hard time watching it and trying to follow along, but definitely learning a lot.
Great. Thanks. All right, Scott or Alex, does one of you want to take it away from here?
That depends. So today's learning module is pair programming. What do you say, Alex? Are you ready for that, or is waking up? I guess not 8 seconds ago anymore, but maybe like 80 seconds ago. Is that? Does that mean you're not primed for pair programming? Because I think I could do that one.
No, I can do it. I mean, I'm happy if you
All
want
right,
to do
man.
it.
No, please take it away.
Because see my screen.
We can.
Cool, yeah. So today we're talking about pair programming, which is obviously something you guys have been doing for the past couple weeks, but we are just gonna kind of run through it. So kind of what is pair programming at kind of its essential core and kind of how it was defined in the age of sitting in an office together is two developers sitting in front of a single computer, taking turns writing code and kind of interacting with each other. It kind of in this dynamic, the community has defined two kind of roles, the driver and the navigator. The driver is the person who's actually controlling the computer. They're the one writing the code. And a really important part while you're writing this code is that you need to be communicating. You know, I know it's very natural for us developers to just sit in front of computers and not talk to anyone for 8 hours a day. But pair programming, kind of the advantage of it is that you are sharing what you're thinking at all times, so that you can kind of work together and solve a common problem. And likewise, while the driver is in fact writing the code, the navigator is next to them, reading that code, listening to the driver, looking up things online themselves of, you know, how can we solve this problem if neither of us know how to do it? You know, offering suggestions and kind of just being, you know, a passenger. I mean, in a lot of ways, they kind of describe this partnership as if you're going on a road trip together. You know, one person has to drive the car, the other person is going to make sure we're going in the right direction, kind of deal. But obviously now in the age of remote coding, this dynamic has mostly stayed the same, but obviously you can't sit next to each other. And in a lot of cases, when you pair program now, the two of you can be on the opposite side of the country and you can still succeed in this. So starting from the top left, the way that you typically see pair programming happen online is that two developers hop on a video call on a share screen. Typically the driver, and by typically I mean pretty much always, the driver is the one who should be sharing their screen because they are the one writing the code. And then as you two are working together, the driver will be pushing code remotely into a repository. So like we're doing, we're pushing code into Git. And then what typically happens in pair programming is that you quite often switch the roles. And it's not just based off of like, hey, we completed our PR, we should switch. But a lot of times it can just be like, hey, I wrote this function, now we can switch to you write the next function kind of thing. So that just kind of comes up as you work together and you figure out a flow with your partner. When it comes to pair programming, you just have to think about like, how do you handle this relationship? So the way that the slideshow explains it, and I think it's a great way, is that it's pair programming is kind of like, you got to figure out how to share your toys, which is a difficult thing for developers because we're very possessive of the code we write and very possessive of, you know, how we handle things. But kind of the advantage of pair programming is that you learn from each other, and you know, the only way you're going to do that is if you're willing to kind of share your thoughts in kind of a positive way as well. Because one thing you definitely want to avoid in pair programming and just working with people in general is kind of any negative attitude, because it's just going to slow you guys down. An important part of pair programming is that it's an equal partnership, not a mentorship. And that's something that you will run into a lot, is especially as junior developers, as you're getting jobs, is when you first start pair programming as a junior developer, a lot of times you are going to be put with a senior developer and you're not going to be on equal footing. So there is going to be more of a mentorship factor to it, where they're going to be guiding you and it's going to be less of a back and forth. But as you kind of break out of that and you start pair programming with more of your peers and less of your senior leadership, it is just an equal footing. This is my idea, I'm listening to your idea, let's come together and make the best piece of code that we can. Another important part while you're pair programming is that as the driver, you do have more control than the navigator, obviously because you're writing the code, but it's really important before you kind of go off and start typing code that you come together with your navigator and agree upon what you're going to do. And then finally, as the navigator, again, part of this equal partnership is that you're not telling the driver what to do, but you're asking questions, like making suggestions. But at the end of the day, you're working together. Your code should come out with both of you agreeing that this was the direction that we both agreed on. Short module today. That's kind of the quickness of pair programming. But the last kind of step is to kind of check in with you guys and see kind of what your experience so far has been with paired programming. So if you guys just want to chime in now and like, how do you like it so far? What don't you like? You know, what do you think can be improved? Kind of stuff. Anyone want to be brave?
I'll be brave. I will say it's definitely been an adjustment coming from being self-taught, because you know, whatever code I was writing was like just my business. Nobody like cared which way we did it, because like I just got to decide like what I thought. You know, when you're working alone, you just get to make all those decisions. So it's definitely an adjustment, but like in a good way, because it's nice to have like another set of eyes. And that's so something that like I've been missing, just like somebody to be like, is this a good idea? Like, I don't even know if this is a good idea. Like, this is the way that I first thought to do it, but I don't know if it's the right way to do it. So it's been really nice, like working with other people and having like immediate feedback on your code, not having to like wait to like, I don't know, ask somebody or like look at it yourself later with fresh eyes, but to have somebody there who's like your peer who is in a similar place and yeah, can offer like immediate feedback. And I think it has been like yeah, it's been cool to like learn from peers as well as to be able to be like, no, like it feels really good when you have like a good idea and you can also teach someone and be like, no, like I think I remember like doing it this way, or I read something about doing it this way. And like it's exciting to be able to like put people on to new stuff in the same way that it is to like get put on to like a new technique. But I do think like for me at least being self-taught, like it was just like a big change at first to even be having those conversations. Like I enjoy it now, but it was definitely at first like, oh, but I just want to like write it down because like this is the way that like I know how to do it. So I definitely enjoy it. I enjoy learning like from everybody. But I think it is important, like you said, to remember that it's not about like teaching. Well, it's not about like somebody being in charge, I guess is what I mean. Like it's not about like one person, like the navigator being like, oh no, like don't write that, or the coder being like, no, like I have to do it this way. It's really important that it is a collaboration and that like both voices are equal.
Yeah, totally. And that's, yeah, I mean, it's just like, it's a really good, and that's kind of, you know, it's really good that we're doing it. And I like how the collab lab kind of is like forcing onto the pair programming, because in a lot of cases, especially in my career, I didn't have a lot of pair programming opportunities that I totally wish I had now. And I do get to do it more now, but I think pair programming is great. I think it's a really wonderful way to get work done. In a lot of cases, I think it's a faster way to get work done, because a lot of people just get stuck on a ticket by themselves and just kind of mull over for it when it could have been solved almost instantly if you just had a friend right next to you. So I think it's a very good paradigm. Does anyone have anything else they want to say, or are we ready to move on?
I'll share
Yeah.
something.
Oh, sorry. Sure.
Go
Shane,
ahead,
go for
Tim.
it.
No, go ahead. Okay. I was just going to say I have experience with the pair programming in my boot camp, and I really like the Collab Labs version of pair programming because it's actually pair programming. In my boot camp, it was literally like team programming. And so I'd be on a 6-person team and we're all, you know, trying to help each other. But I felt very intimidated because a lot of times I would be the only girl in my team, which I know that shouldn't be an issue, but it was intimidating at first. And there were people with lots of, you know, coding background. They just seemed like they knew what they were doing really quickly. And anyways, I like that it's just me and one other person. I feel like you can really bond and build that. You can have that rapport and you feel like you're in a safe environment to make a mistake or just be like, I have no clue what we're doing. Where I didn't have that as much. And when I was on a team pairing collaboration setup. And so I really appreciate this setup. And I feel like it's really building my confidence more to speak up, to ask, to share, and not feel like that imposter syndrome. Uh, and so, yeah, I'm really enjoying this experience because I think this is actually how it's going to be in the real world. I don't think I'm going to be like on a team with 6 people sharing my screen and we're all together and, you know, on a job. I think it'll just be me and one other person probably. So yeah, thank you.
The team programming is called mob programming, and it's actually a relatively new paradigm in the industry, like over the last like 5 years. I don't see it a lot at companies. I've never run into it. I actually would really love to try it, but I feel like it's a situation where that's where being remote and technology kind of fails, is putting 6 people on a call trying to code all together just seems like a nightmare. But I think in person, I have read a bunch of case studies that companies that have done like just stuck 6 senior developers in a room and said, go through these 10 tickets. There has actually been a lot of success in those developers kind of just like all having their wisdom of the application that they can just solve problems very quick over even just a pair program group. So it's an interesting paradigm. Like you said, it really isn't that common, but there are companies out there that do practice it.
Yeah, I definitely can see the perspective of like everyone on the same level, like you said, all senior devs that have the same level of experience, being able to like knock out things and be real creative. But for me, as like I was a brand new coder, and here I was stuck in like thrown into a group with like maybe needing the least experience and then having someone that's very experienced. It was kind of chaotic, not in a bad way, but I definitely felt very intimidated. I think that was the main thing for me. And that's probably just me personally. Like I'm kind of shy and I was a little intimidated, and maybe for other people, it wasn't like that. Maybe they loved it. And like you said, it ended up being great, but that was just my personal experience. I like that it's just me and one other person. I feel a little safer in that environment.
Yeah. And Tim, you were going to say something?
Yeah. I was going to say that I feel like one of the things that was like most opaque coming into like programming was like, I don't know, how you get from a single like programming file into like huge complex projects. Just kind of that transition from like working on your own into working in like on real things. And I feel like kind of just like the development environment was like a really mysterious thing for me, like coming into this. It's just like, I don't know how other people do things. Like, I don't know how stuff is done in the real world, basically. And so I feel like it's been really valuable for me, just like seeing other people work on their machines in their environment, just like kind of getting some more repetitions and what that's like when it's not just me by myself.
I guess I'll also speak up since everybody else has. Don't want to be that odd man out, having like some FOMO here. I'm kidding. One of the cool things about pair programming is that kind of like forces you to explain your thoughts and your code while also having to read somebody else's thoughts and code and hearing how they explain it. So, but everything else ditto to the rest. I just want to add that little part in. Kind of cool.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, that's just kind of, again, the power of pair programming, or just the power of working collaboratively, is that you just get other people's ideas. And I'll sometimes, a really difficult ticket you're working on is actually quite simple if you just have, someone tap you on the shoulder and be like, hey, this is how I do it. And it's like, oh my God, this was actually really easy. So it happens to me all the time. I've been coding for 11 years and I still, when I get the opportunity to pair program, I learn every time. So it's definitely a good way to go. That is the end. So I guess I will hand it back over to Scott.
Yeah, let's be sure also to, if you think of it, just share that slide deck into the TCL 42 channel so people can look at those links if they want to on that last slide. But it looks like it's time for issue assignment. And so this week, I think, is probably going to be a little bit different. My thinking at the moment is we have basically two options for how we can proceed. And one of those, given that I don't think we're probably going to have a new participant to round out groups of two, at least until maybe the middle of this week, I think we're going to probably want to either do the three of you collectively work on both issues, or we bring one of the mentors in as like kind of a ringer for one of the two groups. And I'm not entirely sure. Does anyone have like a distinct preference on that?
I feel like I'd prefer a group of three, but I don't know.
I'm gonna second Tim's. Like, I would prefer three of us working on the next two.
Yeah, I'll third that. I like the idea of us working. I'd be a little intimidated working with a mentor. And it's probably going to be me that has to work with a mentor.
Well, let's proceed in that fashion then. Let me just pull up issues real quick here. Share. Right. So we got two issues, 6 and 7 that we're going to be, or sorry, 7 and 8 that we're assigning this week. 6 is in play. That's just me paying attention. And then we're looking at project brief. So it doesn't matter because we're doing group 3. So let's just review the issues. I'm sorry, you can probably tell I'm still a little bit scatterbrained this morning. So issue 7 As a user, I want to see a welcoming prompt to add my first item if my list is empty to help me get oriented to how the app works. So acceptance criteria for this, the list view, when there are no items to display, should show a prompt, for example, like a button that instructs the user to add their first item. So the wireframe is a little bit short on the welcoming part of this story, but let's click on it just real briefly, and you can see this is not a very welcoming piece of text, but the idea is basically there, right? That when you have a list that has no items on it, you should be told to, add an item with a button that duplicates the functionality of the add item button. So, or I guess these are navigation tabs, not buttons. That makes sense. Okay. So that's the basic idea for acceptance criteria. Who has questions about issue number 7? This one looks pretty straightforward to me, but I'm not a front-end dev, so you never know. And then issue number 8, as a user, I want to mark an item on my shopping list as purchased so the app can learn how often I buy different items. This is a fun one. We're not going to make you do a lot of the learning here, but I think this is important just in terms of like indicating what has been purchased. So acceptance criteria are: user is able to tap a checkbox or some other UI element to mark an item as purchased. The item should be shown as checked for 24 hours after the purchase is made. So we assume the user doesn't need to buy it again for at least one day. So one challenge that you might work through is how you're going to test this. Maybe create some sample items in Firestore and manipulate their dates, like in Firestore, Firebase, in order to like make them be a day older. This is an area where past groups have had some real fun with making stuff that's like got negative age on it, or stuff that's like accidentally ends up being years old. So keep an eye on that, on how to instrument this test. I think that's going to be a fun one to do. And so here's the wireframe for this one. We've got, let's see here, label with a for attribute, activating delete should pop up a confirmation dialog and use an ARIA. So these items I actually think are mostly not relevant to the current sort of acceptance criteria. It's mainly this checkbox on the left-hand side that we're wanting to implement. Is just let me know, when this item has been purchased, and then have the app keep track of that, and then make sure the box is like unticked again after 24 hours. So that one I also think is fairly straightforward from certain perspectives, but it'll be fun for you to test, I think. Anyone have any questions about issue 8? All right, well, in that case, no, don't assign me. Sorry, the faces are in the way. I don't know how to do this. Assign. Shreen, we're gonna assign Tim, and we're gonna assign Ronnie. And and then we're going to do that same thing with issue 7. All right. Cool. So the issues are assigned. Obviously, this is going to be a lot of work over the course of the week, but I'm really excited to see how you all work together. I think your Monday meeting might, to ensure some success, maybe break some of the work up into pair programming sessions, or just schedule a few sessions where 3 of you might work on this. I think if we're practicing pair programming, it's a good idea to have 2 people work on something at a time. But at the same time, if you want to get all 3 of you in a room and just swarm on it, like, don't let the fact that you're like just saw a very 2-person oriented thing necessarily obstruct you from that. Whatever you think is going to work best for you, I would encourage you to pursue it. And I would also encourage you to get in touch with us if you run into blockers. We want to help you work through them. And we know it's going to be an interesting transitional week, but you're going to make it through just fine. This is another really good example of how sometimes in the real world, like, you're working on your team and everything's going fine, and then Jimmy gets a job at Google, and you've got to like just kind of figure out how to handle the entire situation there. So again, I think from that perspective, assignments handled. Rebecca, thank you so much for being part of TCL 42. I've really enjoyed having you here. I think I speak for everybody when I say that. And you know, we all wish you the best of luck at your new job. Congratulations on becoming a junior software dev. That's a great achievement, and we're all wishing for your continued success.
Thank you guys. I really I did not make this decision lightly. I feel, yeah, I don't like quitting things. It's not it's not my fave, but I just didn't feel like I could bring 100% to this. And I would not want that to make more work or make things complicated for for you all, Tim, Shireen, and Sarani. I would not want to ever make more work for y'all because I was feeling stretched thin. So I'm kind of yeah, with a heavy heart, but I really enjoyed this. I hope I don't get kicked out of the TCL Slack, because I would love to keep in touch with you all there and just talk about dev stuff, job stuff, life stuff. And if not, I'm on Twitter at Rebecca_codes, and we can be friends.
All right. Yeah, well, and in fact, if you'd like to, share any other information, just like LinkedIn or email or anything like that in TCL 42, I'm sure we'd love to stay connected. I don't know if the other mentors are going to trim the channel, but I hope that we can stay in touch either way. That's when I say the other mentors, I mean if Andrew and Stacy have a thing about making sure that the channel is just the active people. I'm not really sure what the story is there, but I definitely don't want to lose touch. So let's make sure we get that contact information together. And in the meantime, looking forward to a great week. Collabies, I can't wait to see what you come up with. The app is going to start to look a lot more app-like. In this and the following sprint, we're going to start to have it really start to come together. So that's super exciting, and everybody have fun out there and have a great week.
Bye, everybody.
See y'all later.
Bye.